Yo, what is good, Jets Nation? Welcome back to another live stream here on the channel. And today we got a special guest, a member of the New York Jets beat team, and that is DJ from New York Daily News. How are you doing today, DJ? Wait. I don't think I can hear you, DJ, for some reason. Are you muted? Or is your mic not plugged in? We got technical difficulties to start off the stream. It's all good, though. Yeah, I think you're muted. Here, I just unmuted you. Still can't hear you. Damn, what the hell? All right, guys. Well, DJ's going to get his mic settled. I don't know. Maybe it's my end. Can you guys hear him, or is it just me? Let's see. Hello? You can hear me? Damn. All right, guys. So we're starting off the stream. DJ from Jets Beat Reporter. For some reason, I cannot hear him, and the people in the chat can't hear you either, DJ. So, I don't know what happened because I heard you fine before we went live. Let's see. Maybe like leave and then join back. I don't know. Oh, here he comes.
All right. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you perfectly. Perfect.
All right. I'm on my laptop now. I try to go on my phone because my phone's less staticky. So obviously, clearly.
All good, man. We appreciate you taking time to come in here, DJ. I know you're a busy man, and you're definitely a very good addition to the Jets Beat team. And how you doing today, man?
I'm doing good, man. Just got a haircut, wrote some stories. So I'm chilling right now. You know what I'm saying? Having a good day so far. How about you?
Doing good, bro. Doing good. And as you guys know, this is a brand new addition to the Jets Beat team. For those guys that don't know who we did replace, do some research. And so for those guys that also don't know, DJ is a fan of our rival. He's from Miami.
Yeah,
he is born and raised in Miami. So DJ, what is it like to be covering your division rival, the New York Jets? Are you low-key becoming a Jets fan? Are you going to abandon your old team? Like, how is it covering your team, covering the Jets with an unbiased opinion? Because you do a great job.
It's cool. You know what I'm saying? Like, my best friend, like, he's a Jets fan, like, to the core. Like, he's been a Jets fan since he was a kid. So, I've kind of always had the Jets on my radar, and I've always paid attention to them. But covering them isn't that complicated for me. Now, if I was covering the Patriots, that would be a whole different dynamic. Because that's a whole different, like, disdain, like, they ruined my childhood from a perspective, So that's but covering the Jets overall, it's cool, you know what I'm saying? Like, I pay attention to them more than I pay attention to the Dolphins now, but I still, check in with the Dolphins here and there, see what's going on. But it's been cool though. I can't really complain so far. It's fun at the end of the day, So yeah.
So when it comes to the divisional matchups between the Jets and Dolphins this year, we got 2 games. You want to split down the middle? You still want your Dolphins to win both? Like, when does it come to rooting for the teams when they verse each other?
I plead the fifth. You feel me? From my job perspective, I don't care who wins.
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens though. You know what I'm saying? If y'all win, I'm gonna cover it and say that y'all win. I'm gonna point out what the Dolphins did wrong and what y'all did right. If the Dolphins win, I'm gonna cover it and then I'm gonna say what they did right and what y'all did wrong. But Yeah, I'm not gonna allow my fandom to interfere in how I cover like those games for the most part. You know what I'm saying?
Perfect. And I've noticed that you do a great job with that. When you first became the beat reporter, you were like, let everybody know that you're a Dolphins fan, but you can't even tell. You do a great job dissecting film, putting it all over Twitter. And guys, if you guys did not follow DJ, I left his Twitter link down below in the description. Also, the link to his articles. So make sure you check out his articles. He has a very good outlook of the New York Jets. So we're going to get his thoughts on the Jets draft. And to start things off, do you think Zach Wilson was the right pick at number 2? And do you think he has potential to be a franchise quarterback?
Yeah, right pick. Yeah, I mean, again, he plays like Aaron Rodgers, has some Patrick Mahomes in him. Like, kind of reminds, like, you see some Kyler Murray too. So you can't complain about that. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was not the wrong pick. People know that I was pro Fields, but again, like, I wasn't going to be naive. And, we're in this world now where if you're pro something, you have to be completely against the other. Where, like, no, I can like both. You feel me? Like, just like, you might like LeBron, but you can still like Jordan,
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you can like Brady, you can like Aaron Rodgers, you can like Brady, like Patrick Mahomes. I like Justin Fields, but I also like Zach Wilson. There's a lot that Zach Wilson brings to the table that allows him to be great. You know what I'm saying? Like, his play style, again, reminds people of Aaron Rodgers from the arm angle, I mean, the arm talent, just, some of the off-platform throws when he goes off script, his ability to extend plays with his legs and run, and be able to run. And he has a great arm with high velocity. So, yeah, I mean, he like that was the right pick at the end of the day. And he's going to fit so seamlessly into the Matt LaFleur offense that's going to resemble a lot of what the 49ers ran, which is going to be a lot of play action, a lot of boot plays. And, there's going to be a lot of times where the primary read is going to be schemed open because that system is so good at dissecting the defense's flaws and putting their quarterback in the best position to make the right throws.
Yeah, and that's exactly how I looked at it. I was high on Zach Wilson. I also was high on Justin Fields, and I felt like I loved both, and they could not make the mistake because I feel like both have the utmost potential in the NFL, and I think Justin Fields is going to do great things over in Chicago. Right. And I love what you've said about Zach Wilson. I agree with everything, the ability to throw off platform, and I feel like he's a perfect fit in this offense. So if you just want to talk a little more about what you know from the LaFleur offense that he's taking from Shanahan and how you think Zach Wilson will thrive in this offense in particular, because it's a brand new scheme in New York. We're used to Adam Gase.
I mean, I know all about Adam Gase too,
Oh, yeah, you do.
I know about that too. But overall, last year they ran play action like 12. I mean, they were 12th most ran play action last year, according to PFF. And Zach Wilson thrives off of that. So, they're going to run the ball a lot more. It's going to be a wide zone scheme. So, people like Tevin Coleman or Michael Carter, they're going to be able to eat off of that. And then guess who's going to be who's going to benefit off of that? Zach Wilson, when they go some of the play action, they're going to do some of the rollouts, and they're going to do some of the boot plays and things like that. And with a lot of quick reads, where Zach Wilson isn't going to have to hold the ball too long. Granted, there'll be some times where there'll be some 5-step drops and sometimes some 7-step drops. But overall, though, it's going to be a quick, fast-flowing offense. It's going to be, predicated on efficiency, which, Zach Wilson is capable of doing. So overall, it's a really good fit. I think he's going to thrive really well in that. So I have no concerns about his ability being able to transition into that offense. Some concerns is, how much of the culture shock is going to hit him from playing at BYU, being from Utah, now playing in New York, playing in the AFC East. That's probably like, if we're being honest, probably like the best. Well, it's right there with the AFC North as like the best defensive division, because you're going to go against the Miami Dolphins twice, Patriots twice, and the Bills twice, who all have defensive-minded head coaches. But again, he's going to have a defensive-minded head coach too, but you're going to be facing those type of defenses that are known for being pretty good. Dolphins last year were top 5 or top 6 in points per game. I think they were first going into week 17 until they played like garbage and allowed 56 points against the Bills. That broke my heart. I ain't gonna lie to you. That broke my heart. But you know what I'm saying? So that he's gonna be in a division that's gonna he's gonna face good defense at least 6 weeks out of the year. So it's just more of that. Like, how is he gonna be able to adapt from going from a BYU schedule, which it wasn't his fault, but it wasn't that strong. But he still showed off all the talent, all the ability, which made him the second overall pick. but now you're going to be in a division where you may not have the most talent on your team. Because each team they played last year at BYU, he had more talent. But this year, you may not have as much talent might not have more talent than the quarterback on the other side, or whichever team you're facing. So how will he be able to adapt to that? Those are some legitimate questions, and we will see. At the end of the day, we're going to see what's going to happen. So
Yeah, and one more thing about Zach Wilson. What's your impressions of him in the media? Because that's a big part when it comes to New York. When you become the quarterback of the New York Jets, it's a different animal. Coming from Utah to the big city of New York, do you think his character and his ability to deal with the media and his personality will thrive here? I'm not sure if you did ask him any questions during his media availability. So what's your first impressions of his ability to answer the right questions and, deal with the media properly?
So that it's a wait and see thing. He handled that question at the radio station, where they asked him about his mom. So he handled that pretty well. Inappropriate question, like nothing to do about football. But yeah, I mean, he handled that pretty well. But that's a wait and see. Like you can be good this weekend because you just got drafted. You know what I'm saying? You on a high horse, like you're the man. But let's say hypothetically the Jets start out like let's say 2-6 or something like that, and now the question is a lot harder, and now people are questioning, are you even the guy? You know what I'm saying? Because you saw what happened down in Miami with Tua. Like, if let's say he has a season similar to Tua Tagovailoa, I think granted, Tua got a lot of heat, but it'd be more coming out of New York. You know what I'm saying? And it's gonna be some quarterbacks next year because now we're in a new NFL where quarterbacks get moved more often than not, and people are more willing to ask the question, should you move off of a guy after 1 year? So if those questions start to come around, how is he going to be able to handle that? But I think based off of his, I kind of asked him, what's going to happen once, you go through the ups and downs? And he said, I'm going to just be focused on my inner circle, being close to those that I can trust, things like that. I believe that he should be able to handle it, but, we got to wait and see because this is a different beast, like there's already been some articles put out questioning whether he can even handle the pressure in the pocket because he didn't face any of that at BYU, and now the Jets is probably going to face some of that. Will he be able to handle that? And we haven't even seen him in training camp yet, So, it's a completely different beast. So we'll see how he can handle that. I'm more of a fair guy, so I won't be the guy to ask questions that don't have anything to do with football. I'm going to really try to keep everything to football and ask things that are supported by football, you know what I'm saying, by facts, and then go from there. But, not everybody in the media is going to think like that, you know what I'm saying? So.
Oh, yeah. We know that very well in New York City, and I'm glad to hear that you know what it's like, and you're is this your first time getting a job in covering a New York team?
Yeah. My first time, man. I covered a little bit of college when I was at Louisville. I covered I covered their football team. I covered them right after Lamar left, and they were dreadful. Well, that's probably one of the worst football things I've ever seen in my. No, they were bad, but I think they just quit on Bobby Petrino because they had a lot of talent. They quit on Bobby Petrino. Then the next year they went I think 8-5 or something like that. But that year they went 2-10, and it was weird because going into the year they were saying Bobby was legitimately saying the offense should be better without Lamar Jackson. He was legitimately saying that, and there were media people that actually believed it.
Damn.
And then they played absolute garbage. But yeah,
that's crazy, man. You got your first job as in the New York market, and like you said, it's a different animal. So we'll see how Zach Wilson handles it. He got his first taste of it with that crazy question on WFAN, like you mentioned, and I think he handled it well, but only time will tell. So let's move on from Zach Wilson and talk about the other player we drafted at 14 overall, and that was a move that Joe Douglas made in trading up 9 spots. He gave up 2 third-round picks, and he got back a 4th. And for those guys that remember, that 1st and 3rd round pick we did give up was part of that Jamal Adams trade. So essentially, we gave up Jamal Adams and our own 3rd round pick to move up for Elijah Vera-Tucker. So what's your thoughts on Elijah Vera-Tucker? And do you think it was the right trade for the New York Jets to move for them to make? Because this offensive line has been the problem for a decade, ever since that we move on from Nick Mangold and Brickashaw Ferguson back in 2009, 2010, when we went to AFC championships. Our defense was top tier and the offensive line was great. And Mark Sanchez just had the ability to do what he can because we had such a great offensive line. So we know Joe Douglas is a former offensive lineman and he wants to build this thing the right way, getting Mekhi Becton last year and now moving up to Elijah Vera-Tucker. So what's your thoughts on AVT as a player? And do you think it was the right move to sacrifice that capital?
That was a good move. I did have some questions about like giving up both thirds because I did want them to eventually like get some defensive players a little bit earlier. But this draft was clearly like the plan was set. It's all about Zach Wilson, getting him weapons, getting him protection, getting him a run game. So at the end of the day, if you have a plan and you're trying to follow that plan, I'm not gonna rip that because you're trying to execute your plan at the end of the day. Now, if you don't know what you're doing and you're just throwing stuff at the wall, hoping that it sticks, then okay, that's different. But it's obvious that they had a plan. I had spoken to some scouts that were very, very high on AVT, and that they really relayed to me that the Jets were really high on him. So I'm like, all right, cool. That's a guy that they targeted, and Joe Douglas admitted that he was a top 10 player on their board. So you got two top 10 players that you wanted, and you only had one top 10 pick. So you got two top 10 players that you wanted on your board. A quarterback can only do so much. If you get, now you got Mekhi Becton, you got AVT, you got the left side of the line solidified. So at the end of the day, Zach Wilson is going to come into a better situation than Darnold ever had from an offensive line standpoint, from a receiver standpoint, and from even a running back standpoint.
Absolutely. And I got a question in the chat. So did you cover Mekhi Becton at Louisville?
Yeah, I covered him that first year, that year where they went 2-10. Yeah, I was covering that. I mean, it was weird. He was kind of just like, I mean, obviously he was massive, but like he stood out that next year in 2019. That's when he stood out. But 2019, like, I mean, he was cool, but that team was so bad all the way around. Like, it was hard for anybody to stand out. Tutu stood out a little bit. I'll get Tutu out. Well, he stood out a little bit, but that was it. You know what I'm saying? Like that year was such a train wreck. It was so crazy how bad that year was, because they basically quit on him because Bobby kind of quit on them. It was kind of back and forth. So,
and they won 2 games just like the Jets last year. So hopefully the Jets cannot do that again, so you can actually cover a good football team, as all Jets fans hope. So let's move on to the other 2 players I want to talk about, which are rookies Elijah Moore and Michael Carter. And it's crazy that the New York Jets, for the first time since 1983, drafted 4 straight offensive players. That tells you that the Jets, for the past 30 years, they've been drafting defense. And that's helped us. We've always been solid on the defensive end, but offensively, it's been terrible for a long time. So what's your thoughts on Elijah Moore and Michael Carter as prospects? And do you think they're going to fit well into the scheme in place with Mike LaFleur?
Man, I love Elijah Moore. He's from South Florida. We breed the best receivers. Without we breed the best receivers, period, point blank. So I already know he's going to be able to step in and make an impact. I love, you can never have too many weapons. You can never have too much depth at receiver. I witnessed that last year with the Dolphins. They had Parker, they had Preston Williams, they had Gesicki. All 3 of them got hurt, and then they were starting a game with Mike Hollins, Isaiah Ford, Lynn Bowden. So you don't ever want to be put in that position where your rookie quarterback doesn't really have anybody to throw to. Zach is going to have Elijah Moore. He's going to have Corey Davis. He's going to have Crowder. He's going to have Denzel Mims. He might, and if Keenan Cole can show something, he's going to even have him. You know what I'm saying? So that's 5 receivers you can truly trust. At the end of the day, Moore, man, his route running is fantastic, man. It's in and out of his breaks, shifty. He can get down the field. He's not just quick, but not fast. He's quick and fast. I put out some clips on Twitter of him, whether he's catching like a dig and turning, getting like 30 yards after the catch, or, sometimes he, SEC defensive back with a slow go. Man, his routes are just beyond crisp. And then Michael Carter, I'm a Hurricanes fan, so he ran for 300 yards against my team down in Miami not too long ago, ran for 300 yards on like 20 carries. Like, so, I mean, and when we asked him, like, how do you fit into the wide zone scheme? Because that's the type of blocking scheme that they're going to run. He was just like, I played in that my entire life. Pee-wees, high school, college. So he's going to be able to fit seamlessly into that. So that was a really good move. It seemed that, like, the Jets went with best player on their board versus, like, trying to reach and fill needs. And you really can't complain about that, because if you can get playmakers on your team, like Elijah Moore and Michael Carter, you're golden. Zach Wilson's going to have a solid run game, and is going to have 5 receivers he can truly trust to either get open and make plays for him.
That's crazy because as Jets fans, we've never thought that we would have this great of playmakers on paper, at least. Last
Right.
year, we had a lacrosse player running routes for us in Chris Hogan because we had so many injuries to the receiving room. And then we had Frank Gore taking up all the carries where we're like, hey, we have a rookie, LaMichael Piron. Can we at least see what he has? Like,
Right.
what is going on? So it's refreshing to us that we have these two rookie playmakers. And what I did hear from Joe Douglas is, when they did call Elijah Moore after they drafted him, they said, hey, we're not going to pass on you again. So that tells me that if they did not trade up for AVT, Elijah Moore was there at 23, they might have pulled the trigger. And I also heard Joe Douglas talk to the Michael K show, I think this morning or yesterday. He said, if we did not trade those picks, Michael Carter would have been our pick at 66. So for them to get to him at 107 and for them to get Elijah Moore at 34 and they were targeting him at 23, the value is exponential. And it's just crazy how the board fell in their favor. And it's so refreshing because when we were on the clock at 34, because we woke up day 2, like, all right, who are the Jets going to get? And I didn't even think Elijah Moore was the option because I'm just not used to the Jets drafting offensive players and getting weapons. Same with day 3. With round 4, I'm like, all right, we have the second pick in day 3. And I'm like, I know Michael Carter's still available, but we need defense. We got 3 straight offensive players. We're going to go defense. But nope, I was wrong. So now let's get into the defensive players we did bring in because there's a lot, 6 in total. We started the draft off with 4 offensive players and then 6 straight, whether that's Jamien Sherwood, Michael Carter II, all these guys. So who is your favorite defensive player that the Jets drafted in this draft class?
Right now, I think is Michael Carter because the second, because he's very versatile. He can play in the slot. He can play a free safety and he can fly. Like he ran a 4.38 at his pro day. I was just watching film today against Notre Dame where number 20 from Notre Dame gets a tunnel screen, takes it down the sideline, and then Michael Carter, because they ran on both sides, so they faked it left and then they had it come back right. And Michael Carter is on that right side and he runs him all the way down, pushes him out of bounds, saves a touchdown. I think they end up catching a pick on that same possession, I believe, or I may be wrong, but either or, being able to save a touchdown with his speed. That's one pick that I really did like. I like the Jason pick too. I watched his film against when they played Louisville. He was going against Dez Fitzpatrick and Tutu. I don't think Dez caught a pass on him because I think Dez went in the 4th round, Tutu went in the 2nd round. He held his own against both of them. Dez didn't catch a pass on him. He caught a pick while sticking Tutu. Granted, it was a 4th down, and I think Malik Cunningham was just throwing the ball up, and Jason ended up just catching the ball on like an out route or something like that. But all in all, though, he was able to hold his own. My only concerns with him is what is his long speed like? Because he was able to, he was on Dez Fitzpatrick. Like, he was on him really well. He got called for a pass interference call, which was kind of 50-50, but he got called for it. But with Tutu, every time Tutu went deep, when like a post route or something like that, he was able to create separation on Jason. But I do like Jason's technique. I like his fundamentals. If he can get his long speed up a little bit, he can be, he can maybe make an impact later on. But I really, really, really like Michael Carter. With some of the other picks, I can't really. I mean, we'll see. They're more defensive. You're going to develop them a little bit more, and just see how some of them, the kid from Auburn, kid from FSU, how they can transition them into linebacker. So those 2 picks, we'll see. I mean, it's today's NFL, so basically, if your linebackers can't move like a safety, then they can't really be on the field. So yeah, I mean, we'll see how those fits come along. But I really, really like the Michael Carter pickup, especially that late in the round. To get a DB that can play in the slot, play free safety, runs 4.3. It's pretty smart. So and he'll stick his nose into the run. Like he's not afraid of trying to come up and make some tackles in the run game. So we'll see on that one. We'll see what with the developmental piece. But when we look at the whole offseason as a whole, they didn't really need to outside of corner. I feel like they could have went a little bit earlier with cornerback. But again, if you feel like you love Carter and you love Moore, cool. But as a whole, if CJ Mosley comes back and he's able to return back to form, you got Jared Davis, you got Carl Lawson, you got Sheldon Rankins. The defense looks a lot better on paper than it did the year before. And you got LaMarcus Jordan. So LaMarcus Jordan can go back to his 2017 form, 2018 form with the Los Angeles Rams. then now you have an entirely different situation defensively. It's gonna look a lot better than it did last year. That gave up, I think it was 370 something yards per game and 28.6 points per game. It's gonna look a lot better. So I asked him, I asked Robert Saleh, how do you feel about the cornerback room? He said he loves the competition that they brought in. So we'll see what that competition breeds. I do think Bryce will take a step forward because he flashed last year at cornerback. So we'll see overall how that goes. So yeah.
Yeah, man, I love that you brought up Michael Carter and Jason Pinnock from Pitt, because I feel like majority of Jets fans, when we think about our defensive players that we drafted, the majority of us love Hazma Najaldeen from FSU. They feel like that's a steal. And you didn't mention him or Jamien Sherwood. I feel like that's the two guys that Jets fans are the most high on, and they kind of don't really look at Michael Carter the second as someone that could be really potentially a diamond in the rough, because like you said, I saw that tweet about that play, and he's fast, and he could potentially be the fastest player on the Jets. And we are in desperate need of a nickel cornerback, and to have that versatility to be as a nickelback and free safety, it's insane. And the one thing that's in common with all these defensive players that the Jets drafted is they're not one position. They're not a safety, they're not a corner, they are a football player. They can line up all over the field. And for Robert Saleh to get all these players to just play around with, I feel like, I love the analogy of like, we're just giving Rob Saleh all the toys that he can just mess around with, the chess pieces. Put Jamien Sherwood in the box, Najaldeen there, Michael Carter in the slot, and all these great stuff. And I feel like what Joe Douglas did was so fun to give Rob Saleh all the toys necessary. So is there any other players defensively that you know about, whether it's Brandon Eccles from Kentucky or even Jamien Sherwood? Do you know anything about Brandon Eccles from Kentucky? Did you do any research on him yet?
I did some research on him. He came out of a JUCO. I asked him about his JUCO path a little bit in when we interviewed him during the Zoom call. So I know that he has the mental makeup to hang around in the NFL, because if anybody makes it out of a JUCO, because I went to a JUCO when I played sports, I went to a JUCO, and I know how difficult coming out of a JUCO is. So if you can make it out of there, then I believe in your mental makeup to make it in the NFL. Period. Point blank. And he's fast. I think he ran like a 4.3 also at his pro day. Some people make some jokes about because Louisville fans and Kentucky fans that always throwing darts at each other. They make some jokes about the times being fake or whatnot. But either or, he ran pretty fast at his pro day. He's a pretty good athlete. So we'll see how that one goes. I haven't dived into Jonathan that much yet. At Arkansas, I haven't dived that much into him. I'm still getting acclimated with these guys. You know what I'm saying? Just figuring out, who can really make an impact, who may not make an impact, who may go practice squad. We'll see though. Can't wait till we get to training camp, because that's the fun for me. Just being able to watch practices, see what's going on. That's the real fun for me. I'm not gonna lie to you. This stuff's cool, but the fun is training camp for me.
Oh yeah, training camp's the best. I made a series last year. Unfortunately, I've never been to training camp, obviously, and last year I made a whole series where I made a video after each training camp, and I would get all the news from the beat reporters and dive deep into the tape that we got. And training camp's the best time, honestly, because especially for you, you get to experience it firsthand, and that's going to be a great time for you. So another topic I want to talk about is the Jets' undrafted free agents. Is there anybody out of the 12 players that we got stand out to you the most that potentially can make the roster?
Kenny for sure. I mean, I wrote about him when I talked about the tight ends. I like his athleticism. There's a good chance he can get like a lot of playing time. And you have a rule that's like, you don't really want your undrafted free agents playing early, because like that means like that spot really has a hole at it. You know what I'm saying? Because that guy did go undrafted, but Kenny's pretty athletic. He didn't do too much at Temple, but he showed a lot at Ole Miss. He had a really big day against Alabama. Granted, like some of the plays were on busted coverage, but he still capitalized on it, and he showed his athleticism when he took that one. It was like an RPO. I think Sam he put it out on Twitter. I think what X Factor, something like that. But he put it out there where Kenny caught the ball, slid, scored a touchdown. So he's extremely athletic. That's one guy that really, like, I think he could make an impact this year because of, there's just not that much talent at tight end with the Jets. Granted, we, hopefully Chris can get back to his form where he showed, I think, what was that, his rookie year?
Yeah.
We hope he can get back to that form. But I really do like the Kenny pickup. So that we'll see though. We'll see on those because some of the undrafted guys, like we can get really high on them, but some of them went undrafted for a reason, and some of them might not even make the team. Some might end up on practice squad, and it might be really like legitimate developmental guys. And we gotta just let them develop and not expect too much out of them because that's just not fair to them. You know what I'm saying? Like we can expect a lot out of Elijah Moore, and we can expect a lot out of Michael Carter, both of the Michael Carters, and AVT and Zach Wilson. But undrafted guys, we gotta just let them develop at their pace. You know what I'm saying? From our perspective, the coaches they're gonna have to they're on that timeline. But for me, I want to be fair to them and not put too much expectation on them because that's just not fair to them. You know what I'm saying? So, but Kenny for sure that jumped out to me. I wrote about him. I'm like, yo, if the Jets can get him maybe 5th, 6th round, that'd be great. And they end up getting him agency. So
I thought Kenny Yeboah was going in the 4th, 5th, 6th round. I thought 4th would be a reach. But if we can get him in one of those 5th or 6th round picks, I was pounding the table for him. Yeah. And for him to go undrafted, it's crazy. And like you said, the tight end position for the Jets is pretty bad. And that's why I feel like Kenny Yeboah has every single opportunity to make this roster and provide immediate impact because Chris Herndon, he had an explosive rookie season. It looked like him and Sam Darnold were going to be honestly the future at that rookie campaign because at the back end of that 2018 season, Sam and Chris Herndon looked so good together. Sam went toe-to-toe with Aaron Rodgers, I remember, and Chris Herndon was snagging in one-handed catches, and it was insane. And then year 2, Herndon is suspended. He's hurt all year. And then year 3 last year was a nightmare. He just was catching, dropping passes. I don't think his confidence was there. Whether that's Gase's fault, the system, his self, I don't know. But I feel like the coaching staff in place, hopefully we can get more out of Herndon. But I definitely feel like out of all the undrafted free agents, Kenny Yeboah has every single opportunity to make the team and to start. And like you said, you don't really want your undrafted free agents to start in a position because that tells you how weak you are there. But this tight end group, we have a lot of names, a lot of bodies, but there's no depth because I don't really see anybody on this position group in particular where I'm like, okay, this guy's the tight end 1 besides Herndon we're hopeful for. So the other thing I want to talk about is what are your first impressions on Robert Saleh? Because you obviously talk to him a lot whenever he's getting interviewed. And do you think that he is the right man for the job? Obviously, he's a rookie head coach. We have to wait and see what he can do, whether that's the clock management, his in-game decisions, and his, defensive scheme. But I've always said I want if I can just create a Jets head coach in a lab and give every single aspect I want, it's basically Robert Saleh. I want energy. I want a CEO type. I want somebody that's going to create relationships with the player. Probably everything opposite of Adam Gase. So what's your thoughts on Robert Saleh? And do you think he was the right man for the decision? I think we lost DJ. He's frozen. DJ, you there? I think we lost DJ for a second, guys. DJ. All right, so as we wait for DJ to come back, I'm going to get to the super chat. Training camp is great. Back to the 60s. A dozen Jets players jumped into the pool of teacher in high school. Yeah, V-Man, training camp is the best. I appreciate the donation, brother, as always. DJ did... He's frozen. Let's see. Oh, we lost DJ completely. Let's see if he'll join back. Oh, here he is.
My bad, bro. I don't know what's up with my Wi-Fi today.
Don't worry about it. It happens all the time.
So you were saying if you could build a head coach, what would you my first impression on Robert Saleh?
Yeah, basically, because I was saying, like, long story short, Saleh is basically everything opposite of Gase, and that's what I love about him. So what's your first impressions of him, talking to him in the media, and what do you get from him as like his energy?
Yeah, his energy is great. He's articulate. I ain't gonna lie, every time like I try to transcribe, like all of his audio was just like clear, like is able to pick up every single word. So he's a great communicator, to say the least. He makes my job a little bit easier when it comes to that. But from a schematic standpoint, I like what he was doing last year with the Niners, and like half of their defense was out. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like he's a good, really, really good motivator. That's why he was able to get people like Carl Lawson and Sheldon Rankins, because one thing they always brought up was like his energy and his passion. Obviously he loves the ball. Like it's obvious, and that's the type of guys he want. He want guys that love ball. It's pretty obvious he's a leader of men. We'll see from like an X's and O's standpoint, from from the CEO's perspective when it comes to being a head coach of the Jets now. We'll see how he does there. But overall, we'll see. But right now he's on a very, very good start. He's on a very, very good start. I'm not gonna lie to you. But we'll see. So we'll see overall.
Yeah, man. Jets fans, whenever we see Robert Saleh, especially myself, I'm just like, thank you. Like, he's on the phone with people showing energy. Like, I mean, you don't need me to tell you about Adam Gase because you know him just as much as Jets fans. You guys actually had him for one more year than us, 3 years, I believe. So it's just a breath of fresh air. It really feels like this organization is going the right direction. Even though we always have this type of feeling, but this one feels a little different. But I do also want to get your thoughts on the Jets free agent class, whether that's Corey Davis, Carl Lawson, and all these guys we brought in. I think we brought in like 10 or 11 guys. So who stood out to you, and do you think that Joe Douglas's approach in free agency was the right approach, not really breaking the bank, putting in a lot of money into a player? So what's your thoughts?
I love the Corey Davis pickup. I'm high on that one. The Corey Davis pickup. He was, I've said this countless times, he was 4th in the NFL last year in off of play action, like receiving yards off of play action. I think he had like 560 something yards behind the likes of Tyreek Hill and Stephon Diggs and Calvin Ridley. So I think he's going to have a great year this year, especially in this offense. It's a really, really good fit. Like Carl Lawson pickup because he gets after the quarterback. Granted, he hasn't got that many sacks. Last year he only had 6, but he was second in the NFL in quarterback hits. I think he had like 32. So being able to get after the quarterback is very important in this Robert Saleh scheme. That's what made that Niners defense great. You had Nick Bosa coming off the edge. You had Armstead coming off the edge. I mean, coming up the middle. You had who was the other guy? You had a little bit of D Ford. So like they had a ferocious pass rush. I think they almost had 50 sacks that year. When the Jets get to that, I don't know about that, but I think they could be in upwards close to 40, maybe over that, just off of scheme alone and the assets that they have. And then, taking flyers on guys like Jared Davis and taking flyers on guys like LaMarcus Joyner, those are pretty good pickups. And then, you take a flyer, see if it works. If it doesn't, you're not that financially tied to them. So, yeah, I really like those pickups. And then you get Tevin Coleman, who can come in, knows the system, will be able to, at the bare minimum, provide depth and knows the system and will be able to succeed in that because it's not like he hasn't run well in the system he has before. I think he was with Atlanta. Yeah, he was with Atlanta when they went to the Super Bowl with Kyle Shanahan. So He was there. And so he knows the offense in and out. That's basically the offense he's been in for the past like 5 years. So I like that pickup. So the Jets are trending in the right direction overall. They're still in a rebuild. So that's one thing that, I have an article coming out on that sometime this week. Just patience, just preaching patience. Like they're on the right direction. They're on the right path. Just got to be patient. You got to let everybody develop. Got to let things happen. But overall, though, I did like the strategy. And one thing that is good about this staff is both of them, Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh, both have experience being in pro organizations that have dealt with young quarterbacks. Robert Saleh, I wrote about it before, was in Jacksonville when they got Blake Bortles, was in Seattle when they got Russell Wilson. He even got to Houston when they still had David Carr in like year 4 or something like that. So he was there and he was able to see what works and what doesn't work. How much will that help? That remains to be seen, but he's seen it. He's been around it. Same with Joe Douglas. He was there with the Ravens from 2000 all the way 2014, where they, I think they got Kyle Bolger, and I forgot what year it was, but they got him. I really forgot what year it was. But then, they got Joe Flacco in 08. And, just watching that development. He was there in Chicago with Mitch Trubisky. I think Trubisky was drafted in what year was Trubisky drafted? I'm tripping. Trubisky was not drafted in 15, but either or, that's on me. But either or, he was in Philly when they had Carson Wentz.
Exactly.
So,
so they've been around what works for young quarterbacks and what doesn't work. So, that is something that is very
very tantalizing for Jets fans to know that your quarterback is going to be in a system and an organization surrounded by people that have dealt with young quarterbacks, which is why they went heavy offense, to start off, which made sense at the end of the day. So, because defensively, granted, like, you want better players, but you can always scheme, like, you can really scheme it up, and sometimes it works, sometimes it won't, but you can truly scheme it up and present matchups for the offense that can make their life harder than it needs to be. So I think that's what Robert Saleh is banking on, that he can do, while Zach Wilson has the toys and the pieces around him to be a lot more successful than Sam Darnold was.
Yeah, man, you bring up a lot of great points. And another thing I wanted to ask you before I let you go is, what can Jets fans take away from this upcoming season as a positive? Because obviously we are ways away from being a playoff team, a Super Bowl contender. We all know that. We're in the middle of a rebuilding period. We have a brand new head coach, a rookie quarterback. Joe Douglas just finished his second draft class with this team, so he's finally getting his fingerprints all over this team. So whether it's the record, whether it's the player development, knowing the coach is the right guy, what do you think would be, we look back at 2021 when the season's all wrapped up, how could we look at it as like, okay, I think this team is turning the right direction, whether that's the development of Zach Wilson being, showing promise that he's a franchise quarterback, the head coaching staff doing everything they need to player develop. Like, what do you think Jets fans should look forward to this season to get a sign of hope that we are trending in the right direction?
I think it's going to come down to like how good Zach Wilson looks, because you can do everything right, but if your quarterback isn't good, it just won't matter. Like Chicago, they had everything outside of like maybe like a really, really good offensive line. They had a running game. They had a good running back. They had receivers. They had an excellent defense, but Mitchell Trubisky just wasn't it. So I think it's just going to come down to how good, like how much promise Zach Wilson. To me, if he goes out there and let's say he throws like 15 interceptions, but he has like 22 touchdowns or 23 touchdowns and he shows promise, like you can roll with that. At the end of the day, you can roll with that. Like Kyler Murray, like his rookie year, I think he had 20 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. I forgot how many yards he rushed for, how many rushing touchdowns he had, but he showed promise. We still don't know if Cliff Kingsbury is the right guy for the job, but we know that Kyler Murray is a stud. And at the end of the day, when you have that stud, you're good to go. And the rebuild is going in the right direction. Like Miami, they still have their questions, right? Like I love Tua, that's one of my favorite players ever. But again, like he was up and down his rookie year. So they've done according to people believe that they've done a good job building the roster. But if he doesn't hit, it doesn't matter, So I think it just comes down to how good does Zach Wilson look, and like how much do they keep developing him. You know what I'm saying? And again, we just gotta overall have patience. Win some games. As long as Zach Wilson flashes, I want to give him 2.5 years, not to like be the guy, but to continue to develop. You know what I'm saying? Before I have any like hard stance on him. Because one thing that's kind of weird now in NFL media is like if you're not like the guy off rip, then you're a bum. And it's like Josh Allen. People forget how terrible Josh Allen was his rookie and halfway through his second year. He was god awful, and he started turning around, and now he's a stud. You know what I'm saying? Like we got to just give these quarterbacks patience. That's one thing I will make sure I preach, and I will continue to cover. Like we have to give him patience, and as long as he shows signs that he's progressing, the Jets will be in a good spot. As long as he doesn't look like, let me think about someone that was terrible that rookie year. Because I can't even say Jared Goff, because Jared Goff was terrible, but then he turned it around that second year, and by year 3, he was in the Super Bowl. So again, as long as he shows promise and as long as the Jets are competitive, right? Show promise, competitive, then you're trending in the right direction. Because if you're competitive and you're losing close games, eventually those close games turn into, close losses turn into close wins. You know what I'm saying? Because the NFL margin of victory is so small, So as long as they, Zach Wilson shows promise and they're competitive, then I think that's the Jets are going in the right direction.
Yeah, that's exactly what I feel like going into the season. We need to make sure that we surround Zach with talent, and we preach to fan bases that you got to have patience with the entire organization and Zach Wilson. And then Jets fans will be like, hey, I've been patient for 10 years. We've sucked for so long. How do I have to be patient? But listen, Joe Douglas has a long-term plan. And I feel like that's the biggest thing that I'm so happy about with this organization is they don't have that short-term mindset anymore. I feel like previous Jets GMs, that was their problem. Like Mike McCagnon, it felt like he was fighting for his job and he needed to go out there and sign CJ Mosley, Le'Veon Bell, because if we do not win next year, I'm fired. And Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh, they're both here for 5 years under contract, and they have a long-term vision for this team, and they're not going all in to win the Super Bowl next year. And that's how you build a sustainable winner. And that's why I'm so thankful to have the right man in charge in Joe Douglas at that GM spot and Robert Saleh. We'll see what he can do, but everything's pointing the right direction with Robert Saleh, with the coaching staff he's implementing, his energy, his defensive schemes, and just his whole persona just feels like the right guy. So one last question I want to ask you is, since you do know a lot about the Miami Dolphins and everything, do you want to give us a little preview of the AFC East? Because we know that this is a defensive division. When we hired Robert Saleh, it officially made this a defensive division. Every single head coach, Brian Flores, Bill Belichick, McDermott, and all these guys, they're defensive minded. So what's your stance on the AFC East? Do you think the Buffalo Bills are still the team to beat? Because obviously they won the division last year. What are your thoughts of the New England Patriots after going crazy in free agency? And give your thoughts of what you think your Miami Dolphins did and how you think they're trending in the right direction, because I feel like they're a very young upcoming team as well. And how you think the Jets will compete with those three teams in the division.
So yeah, I think still the Bills is the division without question. Still their division. What they did, I mean, they were in the AFC Championship game. Well, yeah, they were in the AFC Championship game last year. So like they're right there. Like if they can get after, if they can, they went heavy on pass rush. If they can get after Patrick Mahomes, then they may be able to knock them off. But yes, them. I'm not really that high on the Patriots. Not even like my bias kicking in. Like they did what a lot of bad teams do, overpay for a bunch of guys. Like think about it. Like they're paying more for Nelson Aguilar than the Jets are paying for per year than the Jets are paying for Corey Davis. And Corey Davis was by every single metric better last year. I mean they got Udon. Udon is pretty good. He can get after the pass. He can get after the quarterback. I'm just not like that high on a lot of them. When people say, "Oh, they got a lot of opt-ins," well, I mean, most of the guys that opted out weren't like. Only guy that really opted out for me from a defensive perspective that was like stand out was Dante Hightower. Patrick Chung opted out, but he ended up retiring. So, I mean, just not that high on them overall because they didn't really do that much offensively to become more dynamic. Yeah, they got Hunter, and yeah, they got Smith, and Smith and Hunter are good, but. I mean, I saw what Cam Newton looked like last year. He's closer to the end than he is to like another prime. I'm just not that high on them overall, man. But I mean, they have the best coach to ever live, so I'm not going to dismiss them yet. The Dolphins, I mean, they improved their receiving core. They got Will Fuller and they got Jalen Waddle. We'll see if Tua can take that next step. I mean, I think that he can. But I'm not one of those Dolphin fans that get like defensive because people question Tua. Like, what? Like, wow, okay, I got no issues with that. That's fair. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, that's cool. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not gonna get in my feelings. If he's the guy, then he's a guy. If he's not, then then he's not. That's how I look at it overall. So yeah, and then the Jets again. We discussed they made a lot of moves. I could see a scenario where like the Jets finish like better than what people expect. Like they're over win. I think they're over under for wins is like 6. I think they can get the over. I think that they could possibly be like ahead of the Patriots overall. I think like the Patriots, they could implode this year. Like they really could. Like Mac Jones is playing a lot this year. Whoo, good luck. I'm not gonna lie to you, because like again, he doesn't have any receivers. Like, he went from having like first round receivers to like Nelson Aguilar and Kendrick Bourne. I mean, granted, yes, he's gonna have Junon Smith and Hunter Henry, but I'm just not that high on the Patriots, bro. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm just not that high on them. Like I'm a firm believer that when you have like a quarterback like Tom Brady for that long, and once you lose him, like you're not going to, unless you have a legitimate succession plan, you are not going to keep the ship afloat. It's just like it rarely happens in NFL history, like it just doesn't happen. So they just lost him. And unless you have a succession plan, which they did not, we'll see what happens. So
that's kind of how I look at it. Bills, I could see a scenario where, like, the Jets finish ahead of the Patriots, or like scenario where maybe the Patriots, if they get right, maybe they prove me wrong and they can finish second ahead of the Dolphins. Or I could see a scenario the Dolphins finish last. You know what I'm saying? Like, I could see a lot of scenarios. So, we'll see. I'll make sure I tap in with my people that cover each team just to see what the teams are looking like before I give like that final prediction of what I think is going to happen. But yeah.
Yeah, it's really fun division because, like I mentioned earlier, it's a defensive division and all the quarterbacks are young. We got a new rookie quarterback in New England, new rookie quarterback with the Jets. We got year 2 of Tua coming up, and Josh Allen ascending as the best quarterback in the division. Never thought I would be saying that. I remember debating Sam Darnold or Josh Allen 2 years ago,
Right.
And I went to college upstate New York in Rockport, so I was literally in Bills Mafia. So I would go to a bar with my Sam Darnold jersey on and just get cornered from Bills fans, and I would just be like, Sam's better. And man, I'm never going back up there because I was wrong. I let my emotions take over, and I was one of those Sam believers, man. And that's one of the things that I'm trying to be careful with Zach Wilson is when we drafted Sam, I was like crowning him the savior before we stepped on the field, just because I was so hopeful that I'm so hungry for a quarterback where I'm like, all right, Sam, you're the guy. And now with Zach Wilson, I think he has every single potential to be the guy, but I'm not going to crown him until he goes out there and prove it, because another situation with Zach Wilson and Sam is where the organization is going to lift Zach Wilson, something they did not do with Sam Darnold, something that I feel like they learned from their past mistakes, even though it wasn't their mistakes. It wasn't Douglas's fault. It was all the previous general managers to set Sam Darnold up with failure. So what do you think the Jets are doing to set up Zach Wilson of success? Do you think they're doing the right job with surrounding him with the right talent and coaching staff to let him be the future of the Jets?
Yeah, of course. Like, that draft was most of the narrative around is they had a great draft overall. Like, that's the narrative. Like, they had a great draft. They got receivers. They got a stud at running back now. They improved the offensive line, the left side at least. You got Mekhi Becton and AVT. You know what I'm saying? Like, that could be a Pro Bowl left side of the line. Robert Saleh's going to improve the defense. We'll see how that goes overall. But I think they are, as you alluded to, as Robert Saleh alluded to, they're lifting Zach Wilson up, instead of vice versa. Because, again, it's going to be a tough division. There's going to be some ups and downs. But to put him in a position to where he can develop slowly, doesn't have to it doesn't have to be rushed, doesn't have to be the guy, like, he doesn't have to be Joe Namath tomorrow. He can legitimately develop. Like, I really like their plan overall because getting receivers, improving offensive line, getting a good running game. We'll see, how the defense comes along. But again, they invested in the defense with Carl Lawson, Sheldon Rankins, what's the other guy's name? Oh, Jared Davis and Joyner. Those are some good pickups. And overall, we'll see how it all comes together. But I truly believe that if Zach doesn't work, it's because Zach wasn't good. I don't think that the narrative will be they didn't do enough for Zach. They're doing enough, and they're going to do more than enough. So if he's not good, then it's just on him. I'm not going to,
you bring up a good point. Last year, with the Sam Darnold thing, you can either bring up that it's Sam's fault, but a lot of things you can give, not knock on the organization for not giving him the proper coaching and everything he needed to success. And now Zach Wilson doesn't really have a lot of excuses. We just gave him one of the best, if not the best, interior offensive lineman in the draft in AVT, and we will see. And we lost DJ. Oh, man. I was about to end off the stream, too. All right, guys. Well, it looks like we lost DJ. He might be joining back just to send things off, but we will find out if he does. I don't know, guys. DJ's Wi-Fi was on and off all stream. Here he is.
Bro, all I did was plug in my charger. That's all I did, was plug in the charger, and it went out on me.
That's so funny. I was like, oh, man, I was just about to wrap up, too, and let you say your goodbyes and everything, and he left me again, but I knew you'll be back. It's all good, man. But DJ, I really do appreciate you taking time to come on Jets Media because you're doing a great job over there being a new part of the Jets beat reporter, because a lot of Jets fans, we can't really stand some of the beat reporters because they always harp on the negatives. They bring up this, bring up that, but I can tell that you have a different approach. You stick to football. You have a different approach. You look at the team from a, an unbiased perspective, even though you are from Miami and you support the Dolphins, a division rival. You do have a very unique outlook. I love the film review you do on Twitter, so keep that up. Guys, if you guys are not following DJ on Twitter, make sure you do so. That is down below in the description. And also the link to all of his articles over there is available. So DJ, you want to say anything before we end the stream today?
Well, I appreciate the love that Jet fans are giving me. You know what I'm saying? They appreciate, the work. I'm just trying to make everything fun, keep everything objective, not trying to harp too much on the negative, because, while you put out negative articles, you can also put out positive articles too. You can always find a good even when things are bad, and you can always find a bad when things are good. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's a choice at the end of the day. So you choose what you put out there. You choose what narrative you want to put out there. And I choose to just, keep everything fair overall. There's going to be some positives, there's going to be some negatives. But again, as long as everything's fair and stated by facts, where I'm good to go. That's what I've always, wanted to pride myself on, is just being fair and objective at the end of the day,
Yeah, absolutely, man. We appreciate that as Jets fans, because we've lived through the crazy beat reporters and, Manish and all that crazy nonsense that happened. So we're happy to have you a part of the Jets beat reporters. I'm excited to see you in training camp reporting, and I might even have to get you on the stream during the training camp period so we can get an inside information of what it's like seeing Zach Wilson with your own eyes. So I would love to have you on the show in the future. And DJ, I really do appreciate you taking time. Jets fans do appreciate you. Keep up the great work. Guys, again, make sure you check out DJ on Twitter and his articles over on New York Daily News. That is all down below in the description. And also, make sure you smash that thumbs up button if you guys enjoyed today's stream. That does it for this episode of the Jets Media live stream, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out, everybody.